Right now, as you know, and with the new administration coming in, like in a few days, I think a
Yeah.
lot of the focus, and you wrote a great blog post on this that I think came out yesterday around like, why maybe we fear China, or are they actually so far ahead as it relates to manufacturing, and why is that, right? Is it just because they have cheap labor, or, and like, I think you were alluding to way different answers to that, but largely what I'm backing into is one, I think people might be afraid that like if it's too audacious, or the most audacious things we should be building in manufacturing are very CapEx heavy. So like, how do you think about fundraising? I don't know if you ever help founders with this, but like, how do you think about structuring like the raise? If it's 100 million, how do you break it into venture versus like other, maybe debt providers?
Yeah.
So it's a larger question around like, you guys are being really audacious and going for it. How do others think about doing maybe the same? Which I think will kind of lead into like maybe your thoughts on the future with the new administration and how we can bring more of this back domestically.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's a lot there. Basically, VC dollars shouldn't be used to fund, say, like a shipyard or a steel plant. It's not the right investment return profile. It's not the right size. Like these things, or a network of 1 million batteries. These are not things that like even the biggest VC firms in the world like will likely have a stomach for. And so, I think that companies like ours over time, again, will have like more of the development costs, the hey, we're gonna like try something and see if it works and go to market with something that we believe works and develop new technology. That's a sort of venture scalable, venture backable sort of endeavor. And then on the okay, we have a thing that works. There's technology that works now, and now we need to scale it with a lot of dollars, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars of capex. That looks like a different set of funding sources, and I think that looks like more like private equity or debt financing, et cetera. It is probably not the right fit for VC dollars. And again, there's a handful of examples here in the industry that have started to do this, and I think you'll see more and more of them. We certainly will likely be one of them. And I think as it relates to domestic, capability and manufacturing versus kind of what China has been able to do over the last few decades, I think we need companies like this being funded in this way, where they develop some novel tech, develop some novel software and hardware, and that they need access to high risk capital for VC dollars. But then we also need, lower risk, more proven, larger quantity of dollars for the build out of the steel plant, the shipyard, the 1 million batteries on
Yep.
people's homes, et cetera. As it relates to the question on China, the post that I've written up was primarily focused on an observation that I've made over the last few years, is that the Chinese have really gone up the sort of the complexity curve, and it is no longer just, oh, it's like cheaper labor there. Yes, it's cheaper than the U.S. somewhat meaningfully, but like you walk into a cell factory as an example in China, there's like no people there. It's all automated. It's very hard to have a person building cells anyways, because it's like a chemical, highly sort of like physical, chemical oriented process. And so labor didn't really make that happen. That was like good engineering and frankly, also a lot of government support. As you think about the new administration and such, obviously I have no knowledge on exactly what will happen here. I don't like anybody who says that they do, I think is lying to you.
Yeah.
But
Well, I don't even know
I
if
do
they know
think,
to what extent. Yes. Think what
yeah,
people look like.
I'm just guessing from the sidelines here, just like everyone else. But what my prediction is that there is a growing realization that the U.S. needs far more industrial capacity, and that industrial capacity does need government support, whether it's lower regulation or direct dollars or some combination of the two, in order to be brought back to the U.S. And it's not just like subsidizing the higher labor costs. That's like the wrong way to think about it, and a lot of people do think about that. It's partially a cultural thing, as I was sort of outlining in that post, and it's more importantly just a economic thing, which is like economic and regulatory thing. Can the U.S. support large-scale manufacturing reshoring? I think the answer today is no, but my sense is that the new administration very much wants that answer to be yes, and so we'll do things either on the direct subsidies, on the regulation, some combination of the two to like reinvigorate the U.S. industrial base. I certainly hope they will.
Yeah, yeah. We're seeing a lot of different, like, I think even on I've just been following data centers because I'm investing in startups that are building software for them. And a lot of it is around, like, I think Microsoft just announced like an $80 billion data center, like, push, and like half of that's going to be here in the US. And then I think Trump just announced like 20 billion. And, so I think there's obviously large dollars going around to bringing more back. I think it's a question of, to your point, it's a lot of things. One, it's how do you make it, I guess, just more cost efficient so folks can do it, or there's access to that capital. It's easier to get. I think also the labor piece is really scary, frankly. And I think you'd also made a
Yeah.
great point, which is like, it isn't sexy right now. Like, no one wants to work on like the floor of a factory, but it could be. And that's by
Yeah.
paying people way better and making it like more of a career versus like this hourly, probably existing structure.
Yeah, I think you're totally spot on there. This is something I feel quite passionate about, is making manufacturing sort of cool again, to use the like sort of fun phrase of the day. I think is an extremely important thing. This is everything from the sort of operator on the line to manufacturing engineers to people that are looking at starting companies. There is a small, but I think not big enough, undercurrent of this through the sort of like American dynamism lens that I think actually the VC community has been very sort of helpful in. But there's still to this day, like, I'm not that old. I was in college like just around the order of 10 years ago. And like, as a mechanical engineer at the University of Michigan, you would think that like manufacturing runs through the veins of everyone there, all the professors and everyone. Like, I was seeking out all of the manufacturing-oriented electives, and there's not that many of them, and many, many, many engineers graduate with a mechanical degree and don't go into like an industrial field. Some go in the auto industry, some go into aerospace. That's kind of the two big ones, but a bunch go into random other things or consulting, or et cetera. I think there's a lot of opportunity for at the university level to make manufacturing and industrial engineering a cool thing, and very importantly also on the more vocational side, making it a career that is very rewarding. Like it used to be in the, if you watch sort of documentaries about the 50s and post-war era, it was very cool to work in manufacturing. It was highly sought after as a good sort of middle class living. That is not the case today, and there's a lot of ways in which I outlined in that post to, I think, make it more of a cool thing.
I don't know this. You'll have an answer, but like at SpaceX, Anduril, and potentially even Base Power Company, are there ways for you guys to own this, which says like, hey, if you have a degree in this or an interest in it, like we will do the training and the onboarding? Or do you partner with, like, I think I've heard some folks will like partner with like neighboring schools. Can you make the impact here? Is the question.
Totally. It can't just be us, obviously, but we certainly hope to make an impact. A lot of the work that we do today requires us electrical skill sets, electrical trades, various sort of degrees and certifications. And yeah, we are training folks real time. We hire folks in as apprentices, and then there's various certifications, at least here in the state of Texas, various number of hours on the job training that you do to get sort of higher skill sets. And we're doing a very small part of this. We hope to grow, more and more into the future, but we have a handful of folks now that we're training up. And I think, like, sort of as I was outlining in this post, if there are companies that have a very strong talent brand that are cool, Anduril, SpaceX, Tesla, those are like, thought of highly sought after sort of places to work in general, that then also have positions and roles and ways to sort of train at the vocational level. I think that meaningfully elevates the career to be an electrician from the sort of, small businesses or run your own little sort of job shop type of thing, where there's not like this halo effect of having the cool factor of working at SpaceX, but also being an electrician kind of thing. So anyways, we're trying to do that here. We did some of that at Anduril and SpaceX, the local training programs. There's a number of vocational schools throughout the state that we're recruiting from. We've partnered with one relatively deeply. So very much this is part of the way to retrain the workforce and build the industrial capacity of the U.S.
Yeah, love it. Last question for you. Is AI making an impact in any way for you guys building this? Like, or is it too soon to tell?
It is in certain ways. So AI doesn't install batteries on homes yet.
Fair.
So
Not yet.
it's a long way to go
Yeah.
to that. Maybe not that long with humanoid robots. Who knows? So the physical nature of the infrastructure, dealing with the utilities and the government, that's hard to AI your way around. But as it relates to, and this is certainly not unique to us, but writing software, developing hardware, research on various sort of niche regulatory items as it relates to the energy space with which we have to play within, AI is super helpful. And also, in a way, the way in which we interface with the market and we trade energy. But I will say the company is not built around AI. It's not like an AI, company, for lack of a better term. But I think that certainly the trend of more and more AI consuming more and more electricity very much is a tailwind for the company,
Yep.
and very much is frankly part of the reason we started the company is like there's a huge, they call it in the industry load growth, basically growth in the load on the grid, and a lot of that is coming from AI data centers and such. So we're very much tied in with that sort of that trend, so to speak.
It's not slowing down. The growth, I think they
Totally
say like
not. Yeah.
baseline demand, even in just the U.S., is going to grow 20% year over year until 2030, and I think it's like up to 30% if you're aggressive. And I think we'd probably agree with that, looking at more of the data every day.